Hi there, this is Daniel with In Time Country Living. This is Sunday morning and I'm going to make some waffles for my family. And the way I make waffles is kind of unique in some of the ingredients that I use, and I wanted to share a little bit about how I do that and show some of the reasons why I do that. So the first thing that I do when I make waffles is to grind some beans and some grains. And we have one of the old magic mills. That's an electric one. We used to grind a lot of our grains and beans with. And beans are a great item or ingredient for making waffles because it adds a lot of fluff to the waffles because of the high protein in them. And there's a lot of good fiber and nutrition in them as well. And so that's what I like to use. My base is generally going to be more on oats. So these are steel cut oats, which grind fairly easily. Rolled oats work as well, but you have to kind of manually feed them in the mill, the little hole in the mill. And it's kind of have to just keep working it around, and it's a lot more of a pain with this. These will flow in fairly nicely because they're chunked up. And I would use the whole oats, but they're quite a bit more expensive and harder to find, and so the steel cut oats are very readily available and a little less expensive, so I just use those. There's not much of a difference nutritionally in them. They're just cut. The shelf life is going to be less on the steel cut oats, but we use them up quite often, so I don't worry about that too much. The other thing here is garbanzos. So these are some of these we actually grew, some of them in the top there that are smaller. So I think we actually grew some of these here last year. It wasn't a terribly successful one, but I threw them in there. And then more of the commercial, well, I don't know. I don't see any more of the, there's a few commercial ones in there. So these are some of the commercial ones here, the bigger ones, and then the one in the middle there is the smaller one that we grew. It was a smaller variety, so it'd mature in our climate. And the other thing that'll be put in there is soybeans. So these are non-GMO ones that we got at a Winco. They don't sell GMO ones, so they certify that, or guarantee it, I guess, whatever. And then lentils is another good one. These are just brown lentils, and these are quite inexpensive, and those are make for a nice waffle as well. So just combining some different beans in here and legumes with the oats, which I think are about 18% protein, and so they're fairly high. Soybeans are about 23 or so % protein on average. It's going to vary depending on where they're grown and how they're grown. I don't know about the lentils and the chickpeas / garbanzo beans, what they are exactly, the percentages, but they're on average beans are, in the 17-18%, which wheat is kind of in that range too. It depends on where it's grown. It can be down to 15%, but somewhere in that range. It's not that critical, but beans do make for a nice waffle flour. So I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so I just usually pull this out, and there's a brush in here to brush it down when I am done grinding here. And this has a little stainless steel plate in here with a hole in the middle that is used for the grain sits on and goes through the hole and into the grinding wheels down here. Here you can see the hole there in the middle there where the grain or beans go in, and then this one stone spins, and that allows it to fall through the crack down at the bottom there and into the tray below. So there's a stainless steel tray down there that it goes into. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put that back in there. Turn it on here. It's going to be a little loud here. Soybeans. The steel cutouts here. And the garbanzo beans. And some of the lentils here. So that's about how much I put in there of each one. I don't really measure, I just kind of dump. I'll have to move it around with my fingers here to allow it to go in. Okay, so you can see it went all the way through. It took just a couple minutes to push that through. One more there. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. Shut that off. I'll pop it up here and take this off, and then we'll brush down this plate here. Flour gets thrown everywhere. And then I'll brush down the stones away from the hole here. Brush down the edges. Keeps for the flour from mixing the next time and also from going rancid in here. And down the sides, I'll quickly get down all the edges here. Okay, that's about it here. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but put that in there, close it up. Go ahead and pull this out so you can see how much flour there is there. Just shake it a little bit and even it out. Okay, so now get a bowl here about the size. This is a, does it even say? No, of course it doesn't say. All right, let's see here. I'll get a cup measuring out here. Just to try to keep it a little more sanitary rather than just pouring. And eventually I'll just, never mind. Just pour it. There we go. So it's about 3/4 full. And let's see, put this down here. Okay, so I'll need a couple cups of whole wheat flour here. Okay, some we ground as well. All right, so there is my flour component. So then we need salt, oil, and baking powder. So for this amount of flour, let's see here, probably about that much. So that's probably 2 teaspoons. Well, it says tablespoon, so it's 3. It's half, a little less than half. Maybe 1 teaspoon, something like that. Quite a bit of flour there. Okay. And baking powder. All right, how much baking powder? 2 tablespoons, I suppose. That's about right. I'm not one to measure most stuff. I just kind of look, and when it turns out, I know, okay, that worked. So I put that much amount in again, and it's not an exact science anyway. A little less or a little more baking powder. I'm just trying to get all the clumps out of there, so I don't have clumps of baking powder in there. It's not great to bite into, and it doesn't always dissolve completely. Get it evenly mixed through as well. Okay. There we go. Okay. So there's that. And then, so here's all the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a spoon. It's my favorite spoon for mixing. This is a rice spoon. Nice big, has a nice concave. It holds quite a bit. So it's great for pancakes, making pancakes, you know, scooping out the batter and pouring it on here. I really like it. It has a short handle, so you're not out here, you know, the leverage is so much more when you're real close to something that doesn't hurt your hand, and nice big handle on there because I have big hands, so I like that. It's been around in my family for quite a while. I don't use it for rice usually. I use it for everything else, making bread and everything else like that, because I know it's a very strong, it's an OXO one. If you recognize the hole in the little rough, what do you want to say, fins on the side here. It's held up nicely. Solid handle all the way through to here or so. Okay, so that just takes care of the mixing process there. So we just need a little oil here. So I'm not going to measure, so I wouldn't know how much was actually in there if I did. So I'll put a puddle in there, about that much for waffles. Half a cup maybe, I don't know, something like that. Pour, it all depends on how much flour you got. So for that much flour, that big of a puddle, some, well, as they say, put some in. It seems appropriate for the amount, for what you're doing. Okay. If you like to measure everything, you're going to hate this video, so sorry. It's the way I roll. I'll mix that in a little bit. Cut it in a little bit here. Okay, so at this point, because I'm going to go ahead and put in some water next and get that mixed up, it's about time to start heating up the burner. I use a, what's it here, Nordic ware on the burner or stovetop griddle to do my waffles. So I'm going to get that started at this time. And so by the time I get it all mixed up and the right consistency, check all the things like that, ready to go, put on there, it should be heated up to about what it needs to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and set it to high here and check that it's heating up nicely. So check, this handle tends to come out of its little groove here. Actually, it's kind of stuck. There we go, that's a little better. So always check for cleanliness, if there's fuzz in there. There's a little bit of fuzz right there. Since it always has a little bit of oil stuck to it, check it for anything that may be undesirable. Brush off the outside here when it's closed. Alright, go ahead and heat that up here. It does have, the newer ones don't have this, but this one has a little temperature gauge, but it always gets covered up with oil that's on there. But it is helpful, it does tell you when it's up to temperature, which is nice. Okay, so now that I got the that heating up, I'm going to go ahead and get this added water to this, and I'll show you how much water to add based off how much flour. And so you're basically looking for the consistency of the batter, not particular ratios or anything like that. Alright, so I don't care what temperature of water, somewhere in the middle. Dump some water in there, stir it around. need some more here. Stir out with more water at a time. And then as you get closer to what you need, you do just a tiny bit at a time and then check it. So that's still pretty thick. This will be pretty wet. I think with all the water I put in, I need a bigger bowl, but it usually is sufficient. Getting there. Thinning out a bit here. And just takes practice. You may be better at it than I am. Okay, so you want it to, a little bit more. Okay, that's probably, so the other thing is that when you first put in the water, it's going to soak up, or it's, you get it the right consistency, and then yay, 5 minutes later it's too thick again, because it's, the flour is kind of a thickening agent, and it'll thicken over time, and so you have to add more water then. Once you can like do the first waffle, and then I'm checking the thing here. Okay, time to turn this guy down to below medium. So we're getting up to temperature. Oops, so we've got one side too hot. This side needs to be on there. See, it's smoking, that's too hot. So because of all my little videoing, it's taking longer. So then it's maybe time to take it outside and let it cool down a little bit. It's a little bit temperamental. So let that cool off just a little bit here for the moment. Okay, while that's cooling down, so this is already getting thicker. It's kind of getting more a bit clumpy like that. It's not enough water. So throw some more in there. All right, there it's coming off the spoon nicely. Okay. Spot. Hey, there you go. Say hi. Emmett. Good boy. You must be looking for food or water or something. Here's my other little helper. It's a Spot. You gonna help me with waffles? Are you looking for food or something? Oh. What are you looking for? I don't think there's anything in the empty bucket. Okay, so with that. Then let's check this again here. It stopped smoking, which is good. So then we need to turn it to, let's say about, usually it's a little over medium on ours here. So this is a large burner as opposed to the little one back there. Go ahead and, this one's just about empty, but we'll use it up here. I usually like to do this over the sink, but for the video I'll just do it here. So initially you want quite a bit, otherwise it'll stick and you'll be fighting with it here. Okay. This thing is nice because you can flip it over real quick, like so. Okay, so then it's heating up again here. I'll bump it up a little bit hotter here to get it up to temperature quicker here. Okay, just about there. Yep, I think we're probably enough. Whoop! Smoke! No! Oh well. Okay, turn that down here. I tried. Now it's too thick. Oh well, I'll just do it here. Okay, and we'll go ahead, add some more water here. Alright, just stirring it up a little bit here. Get it all the right consistency again, and needs more water. Try again. Okay, so then I'll flip this over. It's already puffing up nicely. See, you can see a little bit of the waffle through there. So it's got over an inch of puff there. I'll get out a cooling rack here to put it on here in a minute. Okay, so just going to keep testing it here. See when it starts to release, I know it's getting close to being done. Like it's in the right temperature range, so this is steam now instead of smoke, which is good. Okay, so that one's releasing, so that's a nice golden brown there. So I'll let it sit on this other side for a little bit. Let that cook. Oh, the one thing I forgot I could put in here is ground flaxseed, which I don't even think we have any ground up already, but that's another good ingredient to add some nutrition. Alright, let's see here. Slap it down like so. That one looks nice. Actually turned out. Wow. Okay, so I'll just dump it out on there. Respray this one. Said I'd recommend doing it over the sink because it puts oil where you do not want, especially on the top of the thing, but for the video, too much to take it over there and show you. Alright, so go ahead and put it on like so. Get out towards the corners. Quickly close it before it runs. Flip it. Get that poof of flame, which is cool. Cool flame effect. And we are cooking again here. So, great. That is what the end result looks like. It's fairly fluffy. See, it breaks apart fairly well. Fairly soft and tender, so quite delicious and nutritious. Alright, so that is the process that I use to make some delicious, nutritious waffles. And so this is something you could do with just a regular waffle iron too. You wouldn't have to use like a Nordic Ware one. This is just, I got tired of the electric ones burning out and trying to fix them and then having to go buy a new one or something like that. So I figured when I saw this, like, hey, I never have to buy another one again as long as I don't destroy it for some other reason, like burn it to death or something. But it's something that, as long as they have some heat source, you can put it on the wood stove, which doesn't work terribly well unless you have a super hot stove going. But it just takes a lot longer to cook a waffle, maybe 10 minutes or more to cook it as opposed to 3 or 4 minutes on an electric stove. But anyway, it is an option. So anyway, some of the, I guess, lessons we can learn, spiritual lessons as it were. Don't walk away from the stove while your waffle's burning. Cooking, at least it should be cooking. If it's burning, then you walked away and you weren't paying attention. So being careful to not forget about things that need to be taken care of, to be diligent in that aspect. So diligence and carefulness. And the last spiritual lesson is to persevere. So in making waffles, you need to be persevering so that you can not give up after a few failures. I even had a failure here where I was sticking and everything fell out onto the burner and started to burn and make a mess. I had to go clean it up. So persevering through those trials and troubles, when a waffle doesn't turn out, you don't give up and not make them again, but you try harder and you figure out what you did wrong last time and try to correct that. And even if you didn't really do anything necessarily wrong. It just failed for some strange reason. You can't figure it out. You push forward and try to figure it out, and try to do better the next time, and keep going. So anyway, that's my video for today. God bless, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.